I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Mayor Burchill.
Here.
District 1 Morset.
Here.
District 2 Yakub. Here. District 3 Bernard.
Here.
District 4 Weiland.
Here.
District 5 O'Malley.
Here.
District 6 Vanslow.
Here. Chief, we have a presentation to make tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, for allowing me the opportunity to present this award this evening. On March 1st, 2011, officers from the Hudson Police Department and St. Croix County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to the area of I-94 and the Hagen Street, 11th Street overpass for a report of a person who appeared to be ready to jump from the bridge. When officers arrived, they found a 37-year-old male hanging on the overpass fence right above the westbound lanes of I-94. The first officer to arrive was Hudson Officer James Wildman. Officer Wildman recognized this person as someone he had dealt with before and immediately began talking to this male in an attempt to get him not to jump off the bridge. Several times during his conversation with this male, Officer Wildman had to reach through the fence to grab a hold of him so he would not fall. After getting this male to calm down, Officer Wildman was able to convince him back onto the bridge where he was taken into protective custody. At one point during this incident, Officer Wildman had to climb onto the fence to grab a hold of this male to keep him from jumping. And in my 3 years as the chief of this department, I've given out life-saving awards for 7 different events. Officer Wildman has been involved in 3 of these events in his 2.5 years on this department. Because of his actions on March 1st, Officer Wildman not only saved the life of this male, but the lives and property of other innocent motorists traveling on I-94. It is because of his actions and dedication to protecting the lives of others that I'm awarding him this Hudson Police Department Life-Saving Award. James Wildman, please come forward. Recognition of your outstanding and heroic efforts in saving the life of another who was attempting to jump from the 11th Street overpass bridge in the city of Hudson, Wisconsin on March 1st, 2011. Congratulations, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Officer Wildman. We appreciate your service. At this time, we will take suggestions or comments. Did I miss any?
You're okay.
Suggestion or comments from any citizens present who would like to make comments to the City Council. Is there anyone present that would like to make comments to the City Council? If not, Madam Clerk, if you could read the consent agenda.
To approve the public hearing and regular meeting minutes of March 7th, 2011. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $955,229.43. Detailed description is available in the clerk's office on request and is posted on the city's website. To approve the issuance of 9 regular operators licenses for the period March 29th, 2011 to June 30th, 2012. Additional information is available in the clerk's office on request. To approve the issuance of a temporary Class B retailer's license to the Hudson Daybreak Rotary Club for a district Rotary event on June 23, 2011 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Phipps Center for the Arts, 109 Locust Street. To approve soliciting for proposals for the Urban Forestry Management Plan, EAB Readiness Plan, Tree Inventory and Software. To award the 2011 tree and stump removal contract to St. Croix Tree Service at a cost of $225 for removal of city-owned diseased Dutch elm trees, $55 for removal of stumps in city boulevards and parks, and $350 for removal of privately owned diseased elm trees, and $160 per hour for trimming trees. To accept the $6,590.99 quote from BioLawn for the 2011 fertilizing and broadleaf control program.
Can you pull that one?
To approve a $25 non-refundable fee for the snowplow exemption permits with no charge to the school district applicants for full-time and temporary permits and no charge for the appeal process. To direct the city staff meet with the Town of Hudson and the school district representatives to discuss future improvement needs for the Grandview Park storm water pond. To approve advertising for the 2011 spring and fall leaf collection program. To approve the Dash for Dads 5K foot race on Father's Day, June 19th, 2011, as proposed, contingent on providing proof of liability insurance.
Can you pull that just for clarification, please?
To approve barricading Locust Street between 2nd and 3rd Streets for the 2011 Locust Car Street shows on the second Fridays, May through September, with no cost to be charged for the barricades. To approve the Monica Jensen Foundation foot race on June 4th, 2011, as proposed. To approve renewal of the conditional use permit for Linder's Greenhouse to erect a temporary garden center in the south parking lot of Plaza 94 from March 15th to July 20th, 2011. To place on file the Public Utility Commission minutes of March 16th, 2011, and the St. Croix EMS Commission minutes of March 9th, 2011, and that is all.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call?
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Vanslo?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Yakub?
Yes.
Thank you. First agenda item is the consider funding for handrail on the north side of Vine Street between 2nd Street and the library. The Finance Committee voted to not recommend that we spend that money.
So moves.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
You know, I spoke with Tom, I'm sorry, maybe you want
Go
to?
ahead, no.
Okay. I had spoken with Tom about this earlier, and, you know, apparently there weren't issues on it this winter. We had a pretty snowy, icy winter. I think they've done a great job keeping it clear when we did have snow. There's not a railing on the other side of Vine Street. You know, if it's something that the library is interested in, or I realize it's on city property, but given that we didn't have issues with it this winter, I guess I'm not feeling a strong
Okay.
impetus to put one in.
Anyone else?
I would have to say that although it will cost less than $20,000, but it costs more than 10, I think that the way in which we want to encourage, especially children, to go to the library, I would be in favor of putting a handrail there for safety's sake.
At Finance, my comment here was, yes, we did, there wasn't any issues this year, very few issues this year, but it is steep enough and it's slippery enough that we could have an issue. Now, $5,000 is a lot of money for a handrail, $10,000 for the whole thing, but I still think that it's a liability issue for the city, and it is a safety issue, and we should have a handrail there.
Well, I guess my question would be then, why don't we put one up on the other side too?
Because we don't have a library on the other side of the
Well,
street.
but I mean, someone might want to walk down that side of the street, and it's steep, and it might be icy. I mean, I just think we have to be consistent, and when I compare it to other items in the budget, I guess I don't see it as a strong need.
Okay. Any other comments? Would you read the motion back to deny the $55,000? Would you read it back, please? Back.
To recommend not funding the handrail for the library side of 2nd Street, or sorry, Vine Street.
Vine Street. Any other discussion on it?
And the other side of the street, although it's not a handrail per se, there is a rail that goes up the other side of the street that was put up by the, I believe it's put up by the Senior Citizens Center, probably for the same reason. There was concern.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Hands, please, show of hands. Against?
Well,
Which one?
For the motion, excuse me, for the motion? For, and against the motion? 2. Motion carries 4-2. Okay, review proposed sandbag policy, fees and fees and cost. Mr. Christensen.
Before we begin, I just, during finance, there was 2 copies, and I figured out why there was 2 copies. I had started working with Randy prior to the last council meeting, but then when the council meeting was postponed till tonight, I needed to work something out, so that would explain the 2 copies. So it should be the guideline ones, so that would explain that, so.
The single sheet front and back.
Yes.
I actually do stuff.
I know.
All right.
So basically, what we were trying to do, since we didn't have a policy in place at the time, we put together guidelines to utilize while we're trying to get things going before a city council meeting, and we wanted to formalize it with the council. And basically, what we're saying, we're going to charge 25 cents a bag for sand bags. Anybody have any comments or thoughts on it?
Well, I think we ought to point out to the people of Hudson that the bags cost us 24 cents, and I guess we're adding on a penny for handling, but that's okay.
So all of our transportation of sand and everything like that is being provided. And so what we're trying to do is cover our costs.
Are you looking for approval?
Yes.
Move for approval on the City of Hudson sandbag guidelines.
Second.
Can you amend that to policy rather than guidelines? These were guidelines, and now we want to make it a policy.
I had a policy on my original. That's fine.
All right. Is that okay with the seconder?
Yes.
Any other discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 7, we're into our budget time. I can give you a little bit, our final capital budget. Oh, I'm sorry, budget amendment. Devin, why don't we do that one?
In November, you approved an initial budget amendment that covered all the expenditures and revenue that changed over the course of the first 10 months of the year. This finishes out the year. It does not increase the tax levy at all. The revenue and expenditures went up by the same amount. As I noted, the major changes were when we ended up doing all the financing after the sale of the buildings and the capital projects. Some funds were designated from the sales of the Second and Fourth Street buildings to go towards capital projects. That's included in this, and the other thing was the increase in fuel costs towards the end of the year. We had to move some money from contingency. During finance, Lee asked for the amount and what was left in contingency, and I will email that to everybody tomorrow when I get those figures. This is a housekeeping thing, just so that it's done prior to the auditors coming, and we can make sure all of our expenditures and revenues are balanced.
Move to approve the notice of 2010 budget amendment.
Second.
Any discussion?
I should say second amendment, I'm sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we can get to our fun part, to consider the 2011-2012 capital projects. Let me give you a recommendation that came out of public work or finance, and that we reduce our first 3 items under general park to $25,000, which includes the park tables, playground equipment, and playground additions equipment and updates. And we put $25,000 into public works for the Vine Street project that we will be doing, stormwater project and street. We want the street in there too.
Yeah.
To do a design, and I don't know if 25 will even get us close, but it's a start.
I think the estimate was 15 last time or something
Okay.
like that.
Could you go over again with the general parks? Is there an average of the reductions? You said reducing by 25,000?
Thought was, here's $20,000. You decide how
Okay.
you want to spend
Okay.
it in those 3 categories.
So we're kind of lumping those 3 together.
Yes.
And I did want to mention, I mentioned at finance that because we are issuing notes, not bonds, 2011, we should have a pretty good idea of what we're doing, but 2012, those were just items because we're going to bond for 2 years. You can make changes to this. This can be done at budget time or any point up until the time you actually start spending the money. But there is more flexibility because we're issuing notes as opposed to issuing bonds. I just wanted to mention that, so.
There's one other project that I want to bring up. Why am I looking at you? And that's the River Toll Gate Shelter.
Moved from the capital outlay budget.
Okay. Let me finish, and then we'll talk about.
I'm sorry. I
That's
thought
all
that
right.
was a
We had extended our grant again for $100,000 that we received from the DNR to put a shelter at the end of the dike. And again, the question is, what kind of shelter? This does not include water, this does not have sewer. It would be a holding tank and a restroom at the end of the dike, which we have porta potties right now. So the question is for the council to decide whether or not we want to receive that grant or say to the DNR, thank you, we do not want, we elected not to fund that project. Now, give us your shot. Yep.
Well, there's certainly more than one reason to take this off the budget. First of all, there is no design that has ever been approved for this by the city council. We don't know what it would look like. We don't know how much it would cost. But we did have some preliminary design ideas 4 years ago, in fact, exactly 4 years ago, in March of 2007.
Yep.
And I was the only person to vote against authorizing engineering costs because I thought, you know, here we have a bathroom to nowhere and we're going to spend money to engineer it. And after $16,000 of engineering, and the lowest bids, the bids that came in lowest were Ross and Associates for the picnic shelter, and the excavation, not to include sewer, just holding tanks, as the mayor just described, was the lowest bid came from A1 Excavating, and together they totaled $393,000, not the $200,000 that's in this budget.
Tom, did you happen to bring that information?
Well, like I wasn't involved too much with the original project, but I did find the file up there, and then this was the plan that was worked on back in.
Do you have some prices there? I'm not doubting your prices, but,
No, I pulled this right off city stuff.
okay.
There's no price, it's just a
Here's
design.
a bid list that,
I think it's all one document.
that's just the plan of the structure, right?
Okay. Do you have some bid documents there, Tom?
Like I said, I haven't worked on this much, and just going through the folder, here's a bidders list. And, Alderman O'Malley stated that Ross and Associates were the low bidder. This bid list, says, $259,600, but I don't know if that was for the building or exactly what that was for.
That's for the building without the engineering, which is another $12,600.
Actually, I think Karen Erickson, I don't know if you have any comments, she actually worked on it when Bonus Rose were the engineers back then, so maybe, do you have any thoughts or comments?
No, I mean, I worked on the sewer and water, but that wasn't part, it doesn't appear that it's part of this bid, because the plans we're looking at there, the sewer and water was done by others. So we believe this is just the building, the shelter cost.
And that was $259,000 4 years ago. I don't know how that would relate to current cost prices.
So basically, we have, what, $200,000 in this budget?
Over the 2 years.
Over the 2 years. Okay. And 4 years ago, it was $259 and engineering fees, plus excavation.
Excavation, this is, the 259 does not include engineering or the holding tanks.
Okay.
And then from the records that I seen also a document that actually had this structure with toilets and water and things like that. So to change this building to a holding tank and a structure with a holding tank without any water sewer, I did get an estimate from Bonus Rose to revise this plan, and that's estimated cost at, I think it came out to $14,000 to revise this plan. So.
I'm in agreement with Scott.
Yeah, I don't think we need to beat this horse. I think we all have to see this. Just one added note that there was a survey given to Hudsonites at that time. Here are just a couple of results back. By a 3-to-1 margin, people didn't want the shelter there.
Okay. Anybody else?
So it would cost the city $159,000, even though we get a grant of $100,000 from the DNR?
Correct.
Okay.
No, that would not include the holding tanks. You're going to get a grant of $100,000 and you're going to spend $292,000 because it costs $392 total, $391,610.
And that was 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
And one of the things that came up in finance was the fact that the grant is based on a certain design. So
Correct.
if we come in with a different design, we don't know if that grant will stay
Right.
in force or
Okay.
not.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments on that?
So we're taking it out?
And, well,
Okay.
is there any other, well, let's take a vote on that one. If,
I will move to remove, my motion is to remove that item from our capital outlay budget for 2011 and 12.
is there a second?
I'll second.
I think the motion also should include the recognition that we're releasing this money back to the DNR.
Okay, I will so include, by reference.
Okay. Is that okay with the seconder? Who was the seconder?
We were tied.
Okay.
You can put us jointly down.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Did we talk about Whitecamp Park Trail Phase 1 for 50,000? Now, that's other source, so that's coming out of the impact fees?
Dedication fees,
Okay.
correct.
So the only other item that we should, unless there is anything else, is that we add the $25,000 on to the Public Works for the Vine Street project.
And
And
the
then
5,000,
we eliminate the $5,000 for the Vine Street handrail.
Well, we just came up with 50 more. Do we want to revisit that one?
No, that it isn't that we can spend it, it's if you,
So where's that 5,000 gonna go? Is it gonna go?
well, we're just gonna borrow less.
Just gonna-
You could either borrow less
that
or,
long-term?
right now you're at 933.
Well, that wasn't long-term, I didn't see that.
Yep.
Okay.
Now you're at
fine.
933, so your options would be either to
Oh,
borrow
yeah.
less or
No.
increase the amount of street spending.
I'm okay with borrowing less, I didn't see it was in the long-term, sorry.
Devin, a question on the mill and overlay for those. I know they're coming out of the impact fees, but is it necessary is it for us to decide that, or what?
For which,
For the mill and overlay on the boat launch and the,
that's for us to decide.
That's for you to decide, it's just identifying, if you decide to do it,
At a
there's
later
another
date.
source for
Yep.
it.
you don't need that today.
No.
If you're gonna pull it out of here, you should pull it off this budget, because what you're approving here is the capital budget for 2011. So if it's something that you don't wanna do in 2011,
I don't see the need.
I'd recommend you pull it out, because this is something we're gonna give to the department heads and say, here you go. Start getting your bids, start getting your.
So, Mr. Zulli, can I ask you about the the parking lots? Why do you want to, and maybe I'll ask Mr. O'Malley as chairman of the Public Works.
No, I'd like Tom to answer that.
Okay,
He's there where the rubber meets the road.
The parking lot at the bathhouse is in poor condition. There's cracks and holes and potholes, and it's in pretty rough shape. We considered doing some repair to it last year with crack filling and doing this flex patching, and I met with some contractors, the paving people, and they just felt that it was beyond repair and it needed to be milled and overlaid.
The
I
bathhouse?
think the bathhouse is more of a priority than the boat launch. If we had to make a decision, I would do the bathhouse prior to or before the boat launch.
Well,
If we had to make a choice.
I'll move to take the boat launch off of that mill and overlay.
How is the boat launch parking lot right now?
It's not as bad as the bathhouse.
That's not gonna help me out.
I'm sorry.
On a
How
decision.
about on a WisDOT scale, where is it at?
Is it Grandview Road bad? I mean.
I don't think it's that bad. Probably a Whistler report scale, probably 6, 5 to 6.
Out of 10. So it goes up to
That's
10.
before or after the flood?
Oh, probably worse after.
Didn't we just do that 5 years ago, 3, 4 years ago?
I'll have to look. I'm not sure.
hasn't been since I've been here. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 years.
I have as we're looking at cutting things, now, we've already figured out what the mill rate is going to be for all this,
No,
so.
we haven't.
The short-term to tax rule is included in the,
Point of order, I have a motion on the floor.
Yep, and there hasn't been a second.
Well, the second was to take out the mill and overlay for the boat ramp.
Boat ramp specifically,
Just the
that
boat
parking
ramp.
lot. Not, I'm leaving the beach house in. That's what you want, right?
We live with that for a year?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll take that.
I'll second it.
Okay, let's have discussion on it. Again, this money comes out of our parking fund, and we have money in the parking fund to fix it.
$130,000.
Yep.
And it's there for parking lots.
Well, we're also gonna spend some money on some signs upcoming on our agenda.
But we're talking about 10 grand for the boat house. What is the cost, Tom?
10,000 for each.
10,000 for each. It's 20,000 of the 130,000. Not that I want to spend money, but I would recommend that we try and keep our parking lots up to speed as best we can, if we have the money.
And it'll get more expensive as those cracks get bigger.
Right. but that's just your guys' call. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Are we actually milling that up, or just, are we actually ripping it
Taking
all
off
up?
2 inches and
2
putting a
inches
new mat down, yes.
And if we didn't do that this year, it's gonna be the same 2 inches next year? It'd be the same,
If I can handle that one, Tom, no, the reflective cracks get bigger.
yeah.
And so you may have to, you get to a point, the Whistler scale tells you when you have to completely dig up the road and start all over again. Same thing with parking lots. And that's when you get closer to that 10 number. We're at a 6 now. We get flooded every year. We don't know what we're gonna wind up with after the water recedes. This year, we may be at a 7 already for all we know. It's underwater, we can't tell you. So we're getting so close to that 10, you then get into a very expensive rebuilding of that entire lot. You have to tear the whole thing up.
Right, didn't you second that motion to wait?
Well, because, yes, and now I regret it, but
I was just wondering.
Tom said he could wait till next year. I'm not seconding
As
that
you're
motion
thinking
that
that
we're
through, though, I'm
getting
just
rid of
wondering.
it.
Okay.
If the question is, can we live with it one more year? Yes, we can. It's just, how much do you want to pay? It's gonna cost you each year you wait.
Right.
How much do you want to pay? You want to pay now or you want to pay later? Because you're gonna pay.
Any other discussion? Rich?
I think we should take care of it now while we've got the money in the parking fund, and while it doesn't deteriorate to the point where it's gonna cost us even more money to do it next year. And once you fall behind, you just never catch up on stuff. And things could be worse next year for us.
Yes, it could be.
And so I think we should take care of it while we can.
Mary, anything?
I think I've kind of let into how I'm thinking. So.
Okay. Lori,
No,
anything?
Fine.
Okay,
Should I withdraw my motion? How about that?
it's up to you.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll withdraw
Fine,
my
rescind the
motion then.
Okay.
My only fear was that if we didn't go with this motion, I would lose even more money. So I wanted to stop it right where it was. So
Okay.
let's just go back to not
Okay.
discussing this at all.
Okay.
So our only item on this particular budget that hasn't been approved or talked about yet is changing our $25,000 from the parks equipment to Vine Street Engineering. Vine Street Project, I'll call it engineering. Is there a motion for that?
So
I'll move.
And a second.
Second, whichever one of us moved.
Okay.
I will move.
Any discussion on that? I think it's important. We've been kind of thinking about that for at least 4 years, maybe longer than that. Take a look, and I think it's going to be a very expensive project.
It's gonna be over $210,000 to complete the whole project, and
How
Jim
much?
Fry will, over 210. And that's not counting the water utility part, but that comes from the water utility.
I think you two are talking about two different projects.
I'm talking about Vine Street total.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
talking-
I'm sorry, I'm talking about Vine
If we can do it for
second.
210, we'll do it this year.
Yeah, no, I'm talking Vine and second. which
Okay,
is
yeah,
just
right,
on my mind.
right. But
This
I
is-
mean, the entire project for the Vine Street's gonna be probably our biggest project we've had in a long time.
And
After
it's to
Wisconsin
address
Street,
the
yeah.
downtown flooding
Yes.
issue.
Yep,
It's
that's what
not
we're trying to-
about, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay,
Oh, I will stay with my motion, though.
yep, absolutely. Any other discussion?
Yeah, the only other question I have is because of the severity of the winter and the condition of the roads, at least the roads that I'm driving down, do we have enough money in for mill and overlay? And
Well-
I don't know
Okay.
the answer to that.
I know
but
the answer to that, we never have enough money in Mill and Overlay.
But I have a real concern about that because the roads are in pretty tough shape as far as
And it's
the
not,
ones that I'm going
it's not a
to.
reflection on Hudson. Everywhere in the region, I mean, it is pothole season everywhere. This was a very, very tough winter for every road.
Can we vote on the motion that we have?
Sure.
And then I want to get back to that. issue.
Let's vote on the motion to change the 25, if that's okay, because we have a motion on the table and a second to move the 25 from, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, we've done that. Rich?
I'm just concerned that we don't have enough money in mill and overlay this year just because of the condition of the roads after the type of winter we had, and I'd like to stay on top of that if we can. So if there's money that we can put into the mill and overlay, I think we need to do that. Otherwise, we're starting to fall behind.
There's
think there's-
$67,000 available if we wanted to stay at our $1 million for this year.
And I'd certainly like to, maybe Tom, I don't know if Tom's got a feel for what might help us out, but I'd like to add money into the mill and overlay. I don't have a number. Do you have a feel what $20,000 or $25,000 would help us out in mill and overlay? Because certainly the roads are in tough shape down.
Tom will take anything he can get.
Oh, yeah.
I have a number.
What, do you have a number? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a number, $50,000 to bring it to 275. Do you agree, Larry?
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to
I
say.
will move that we change mill and overlay to 275 instead of 225.
Okay,
Second.
Is the second from Lori. Any other discussion on that?
Okay.
Would you be willing to accept
time.
that, Tom? Or you, okay. I don't think there's any, anybody feels any unless there's someone that's gonna speak up, but we do have some things that we can, and you'll give us those projects and we'll break those down where they're gonna be? At a later date, of course, but, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So do you wanna give us a,
Right now, for 2011, you're at 988, 2012, you're at 950.
so I'd like a motion to approve the 2011, 2012 capital budget for,
I had a question on another
Okay.
item on here. Can you kind of give us a little background on the GIS mapping project for 60 grand and what the
Is Denny
benefits of
here?
that are?
And that's Tom's thing.
Tom?
It is other sources, but I'd like to know.
Tom, you wanna come on the mapping project?
I don't know who that's from.
Is
I
that, that's
know-
yours, isn't it?
Well, partly, actually,
Water.
I think it's
Water department?
Water, sewer, and storm sewer. So it would be coming out of, I think it could be coming out of some impact fee
Correct, I think that
funding.
originally the 20,000 was gonna be in here, and then it was
Yeah.
suggested that 20,000 impact fees, 20,000 water, 20,000 sewer.
So people understand, GIS stands for Geographical Information Software. And that is basically to find out what the elevation is and the contours of all the land within the city, which greatly affects where we put drain fields, how we schedule any draining. For instance, up on the hill, we're talking about a big project up there near Grandview. And gullies have formed because of erosion that weren't there before, and we need to find out where everything is. It also maps exactly where all our pipes are already.
I was saying, this is a nice lead into the Vine Street stormwater project to find out why are we flooding now when we weren't flooding this severely 8 years
Yeah.
ago.
And you wouldn't be able to know that without this, really.
Does that answer your question, Lee?
Yep, Andy gets the information out there, thank you.
Tom again.
Yeah.
He's getting exercise today.
So again, the budget is 988 and 950 for 2012. 988 for
Move
2011.
to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a lot of seconds. Any other comments?
Can I just ask a question then?
Sure.
So 2012, as was explained in finance, I just want to make sure I understand. This is just kind of a rough deal, it's not set, so if we
Right.
want to,
So when we give this to the people that are doing, or interested in our notes, we can say, this is what we're anticipating we're gonna be spending the money on.
okay.
2012, and even 2011 to a point, but 2012 can be discussed at budget time, and if we find other needs, we can move it around.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that needs to be made clear, especially for some of the large ticket items.
yeah,
When I distribute this, I'll make sure that it's clear
Yeah,
that
it would-
2012 is just an estimate, so we can get the bonding. And this, if I can add on to that, Sean will be here, Sean Lentz from Ellis and Associates will be here at the April 11th meeting to do the preliminary resolution and get the ball rolling on the note issuance. And the note issuance will be at that first meeting in May. So that's kind of the plan.
okay, that's good, otherwise I'd have some more.
So again, to update everyone why we did this, because it's about $35,000 to issue a bond.
Correct.
And so we combined 11 and 12 together. We didn't issue M last year. So we've, quote, we've saved about $35,000 by combining the 2 years.
And just make sure everybody saw in there that $127,000, what that is the, to refinance a small portion of what we issued last year. We originally thought we'd have to issue the whole $411,000, that was the original plan, was to include it in this year's bonding. But with the sale of those buildings, we were able to reduce it to that amount, so that's in there as well.
I'm just going to reiterate one thing,
Yes.
and it's in regard to the Burton Field design and reconstruction.
Mhm.
And I know I already alluded to it, but when we've not seen plans, I don't want this to be, I don't want it to be assumed that we're approving this amount of money for something we haven't even seen,
Okay.
okay? I just want to go
I'll
on the
make that clear
record
to
as saying
department
that.
heads, that 2012 is at this point not set in stone.
Okay. Thank you. We voted on that, didn't we? No, we haven't?
No.
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, thank you. Good job, people. I think that it spent a lot of time from various departments and put a lot of time into this, so thank you. Next is the Hudson Booster request to build concession building on the former landfill site and consider extension of their lease agreement. Tom, are you the man on this?
have a representative from the boosters here?
Sure.
The Hudson Boosters are requesting to put a structure at the landfill site. We do have Kevin here from the Boosters. If you'd like him to speak on the structure, it's
Greg.
I'm sorry, Greg. It's out at the city landfill, and the Boosters already have ball fields out there that they've improved, and they have backstops and all their equipment out there. And this would be, currently, I think you have a concession stand on like a trailer, and they would like to have a structure out there where they can have better access for concessions, and that's where they make some of their money to fund some of the activities, so.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
just to, on a procedural note, the recommendation from the Public Works Committee is to not only approve the 16 by 16 foot wooden structure, but the 24 by 24 concrete pad that it would sit on, allowing 4 feet of space around it for customer traffic,
Okay.
rather than wearing the ground down right in front of the concession stand.
Okay.
The committee recommends approval of that. What we did not take action on, and which we demurred and put it on to the full council, is the boosters would like the city to also extend their lease for this property. The lease right now goes for another 9.5 years till October of 2010. And Greg, can you take it from there? 2020, I'm sorry, yes.
Was that a motion, Scott?
No, and we're
yet?
going to hear what Greg has to say.
We would just like to, I mean, if we're gonna invest this money into into the property, we'd like to extend the lease to protect our investment. If we can do 10 years, we would do 10 years. That's kind of where we would like to start consideration.
Makes sense.
So it would be a 19.5 year lease then.
Would we ever have any other need for that particular location?
No, I will move that we approve the lease extension along with the committee's recommendation to actually build the building.
Okay.
Second.
For 10 years till?
We have another 10 years to
Okay.
October of 2030.
Second.
Is there a second? Second by Randy. Any other discussion, or any discussion? All right, if none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Item 3 has been, Public Works has been pulled. Randy, you pulled that. Item 3, please. Review quotes and award contract for 2011 broadleaf control.
Yeah, I want a clarification. Is this just for those 2 parks, and do we have an existing program, Tom, for our other parks which are in bad need of fertilizing and broadleaf control as well?
It's just for the parks listed on there, Burton Field and Williams Park.
So we have no other plan to fertilize or broadleaf any other parks?
A couple years ago, actually, we removed all parks from the fertilizing and the weed control. And actually, we added Burton Field and Williams Park last year because of so many complaints.
Okay.
But 2 years prior to that, we took all the parks off any weed control
So what's your plan this year?
to do Williams Park and Burton Park, like we did last
And
year.
these 2?
Yes.
So we added 2 parks.
Well, I could think of some other parks that need it as well.
If
Anderson
that's
Park
up
is
to you
just-
guys, we certainly could if that's what you wish to do.
Well, as a note of explanation, the reason that we took it off 3-4 years ago is in response to public requests to not have runoff into the river of those chemicals.
But we are doing it differently now, I believe, right? For that very reason.
Well, we have a turf management program. BioLawn was the lower bidder of the 2. And they were the only one to actually have the turf management program and other processes that are required by the DNR.
Well, I'd like to see Anderson Park added to that. I don't know where you go with that.
I say
Are
Prospect's
you- are you-
looking pretty rough,
Are you
too.
getting your checkbook out to pay for the additional amount?
I'll be second in line after you.
Yeah.
So you would like me to get quotes for all the parks, or?
Well, we can send it back to Park Board, but I think there's more than just the parks you suggested that need attention. We're all about saving the environment. There's ways to do that now. That's a moot point now. We'll do it the right way.
Okay, where would you
So,
propose we get the money for that?
Well, I suggest we send it back to Parks Board to see and identify.
Well, Park Board doesn't have any money. That comes to finance.
Well, I'm willing to approve this, but I want to see some other stuff on the
Okay.
broadleaf control.
Then I will move for approval of the awarding of the contract for 2011 to BioLawn, the lower bidder.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we'll take it back to, Tom, if you, can
So
you,
what parks, Randy?
Well, we should just revisit all of them. What's the ones that aren't done?
why don't we take it back to Park Board and they can,
Priority list.
Okay,
okay?
sure, I can do that.
The next item on our public safety is request for Dash for Dads 5K foot race. Laura, you pulled that.
Yeah, and I think it's sounds like a great event. Just wanted to clarify something though. The route, as it's spelled out, does not match the map. And so I don't think either of them are correct. And I just wanted to make sure I understand it. So they're coming out of Prospect Park in Wisconsin, right on Spruce, right on Grandview. I think it's right on Laurel and left on White. Is there someone here?
Who,
No, it's what's on the map. I think we had, well, I apologize, there was trouble with the map that we had sent out. The first one, the one that they mapped that ended up to be 5K was different than what, we couldn't print that one. And I
Okay.
believe what I've got in front of me is right on Spruce, right on Grandview, and then all the way to Summer.
Okay.
And
So
then,
not left on Laurel, not left on.
Right.
Okay, so then.
and part of the reason we're staying off of Laurel is because of church on a Sunday morning. We wanted to stay away from the Methodist church that way.
And that was actually pointed out at public safety, I pointed that out. at
I wasn't there
public
that
safety,
night.
too. We didn't write a clarification, I suppose we should have done that somewhere.
Okay,
okay,
that was it. I just wanted
is there a motion to approve?
to. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on public safety is consider new design for public parking lot signs in the downtown area. Mr. Darnold, I bet he's got items for us to look at.
Package should receive some sheets that shows some recommended signage and alternative signage. This is the Christensen Creative provided some design services free of charge to the city and Chamber of Commerce. Same sign with two different sizes. Basically, this is their recommendation is have a clean background, an icon that can be utilized just to dress the sign up. Public parking, so there's recognition of public parking lots. And this part of the sign would be detached and would provide alternative information on the lots that have lot names to be like Williams Lot, which is south of the public safety. And we also would number lots to help the public that's not within the city of Hudson. So it might be lot 1 of 7 total. And then some kind of icon here, free metered permit parking to help identify what types of parking are within each lot. Again, where it's this icon or a word, metered and permit. This is a general theme. On the last page, there was more exploration as far as a variety of alternatives. One of them was similar to a sign that was sent to public safety as a sign that was used by a community in Washington State. And so I think what we're looking at is this something that's acceptable to the city. What we would have to do is take a look. We would go out and try to get estimated cost of this, but we also have to identify locations. Also, this accessory information on each sign has to be identified. And at that point, we'd put together a request for proposals and send it out. We could potentially do alternatives to take a look at, if we could, reduce costs somehow. But this is a general concept. Mary Yakub and I worked with the Chamber of Commerce and Teresa Christensen to come up with some general concepts. So this is what's before you tonight.
Has this been reviewed by our, what's that committee called, the Historic Architectural Review Committee?
No.
Because I was just wondering about kind of the aesthetics with at least the downtown signs.
Well, part of our concern is the size of signs. Tom Zuli, our Public Works Director, we have concern about a lot of signage downtown. As part of the icon is trying to, and there could be some edging or something on the signs that could help. I guess the point is how much are you going to add to that to potentially drive up the cost of the signs? Where's the stopping point on that? I think what Teresa was getting at, this is fairly simple design. The ones with circles added more visual clutter to the sign. The icon probably needs to change a little bit. But general information is try to keep it as easy to identify as possible.
The reason I asked that question only is because the concept, I like the concept of the sign. I'm just my first impression of the colors and the aesthetics downtown doesn't strike me like it would fit that well with current building structures. That's why I asked if the architectural committee would have an idea.
We want to keep it simple so people could identify.
I'm not talking about simple or complicated. I'm just talking about how well it blends with the architectural
I think
downtown.
one of the things we're trying to accomplish is, although we want blending, we also need it to stand out. I mean, if we completely blend, it's going to be blind to the eye. You're driving by and
how
many people see the signs now?
I think it still can be useful without being gaudy. So I think there's a line here that we're not quite there yet.
Well,
out of committee came out of that, we recommended two of the designs, and then you have the choices on back page of the color.
See,
if I may, I'd like to refer the committee to the council to the back page, to the lower course of possible signs, the third one in. I have no problem sending this to the architectural committee, but I think we need to give them something that we agree on first to work with. Mm-hmm. My only possible change would be, since blue is traditionally, that's the color for hospital signs, not parking signs. There is a sign, the third one in, that uses yellow background like we see here, it's kind of a marigold, I guess, and green. Now, there's something that goes on in Wisconsin that's yellow and green, and
they happen to be the world champions this year.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So, I would suggest my suggestion is change the blue to green and send it to the architectural committee. What is the other?
I would second that. But
who was on the architectural committee?
I don't know if we really got anything established at this point. So.
Well, we have a local architect who's on that committee, and you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Putman hasn't been available for some time.
Oh,
so.
okay.
I don't see why, if we've identified it, we should.
Why would we send it to the architectural committee? Yeah, I don't mind.
Well, I have no problem sending it to the architectural committee.
Lee
wants
the reason I asked for that is because we've told everybody downtown who is putting up signs and doing building work that they need to have it reviewed by the committee. I think that it would be only valuable for us to at least have our architect review it as well.
Well, I can do that.
Okay.
Let's just move it on.
Everybody like the idea of the green and gold?
absolutely.
Good. I think you had made one comment about the leaves.
Yeah, that icon can change. That's
I kind of like the second one.
If we're looking at something
More
on more
green,
historic, then we may want to change it to something that's more historic in nature. So
it's just a concept design, wasn't
So where do we go from here, folks?
We vote on the
take it
motion.
back and we'll have our architect. Maybe we'll get Mr. Putman to assist us with it.
So can we get these up before the tourist season starts? How long is it gonna take us?
I'm not gonna promise that. We gotta put it together, we gotta take it out for bids, and I'd rather do it right than do it too
Yep.
fast.
I agree. Well, fast is better than slow, I think, in this particular case, just because, again, one of the concerns we have is nobody can, parking is hard to find, or people aren't finding it, or that's what at least that's what we think, but that's fine, let's take it back. Can we have something back for next, 2 weeks from tonight? Would that be reasonable? Danny, is that reasonable or not?
Right.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion.
And Lori
Second.
seconded it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Sounds good. Thank you. Unfinished business. We have the 2011 agreement with the Hudson Softball Association for concessions at Grandview Park. Who's here to speak to that? Is there anyone here to speak to the concessions agreement?
Yes, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
I think the concern we had is, I think you've requested to reduce our, from 10 to 8%.
Yes.
Okay. Your total income was about 18, was it 18,000?
I believe so, yes.
So,
Well,
go ahead, why don't you?
tell us your reasoning.
Yep.
Why you came to this. park.
Okay, like I said before, the problem is we're losing teams, for one thing, so our revenue is down. Probably the biggest reason is we've been using the same old coolers, don't have enough money to buy new ones, so we keep on fixing the old ones, which is a never-ending battle. So I guess we have to start somewhere. We have to show our teams also that the city is trying to give us a little bit of a break to stay here. I think like 5 years ago, we had leagues on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. Last year we were down to, we eliminated Friday night about 5 years ago because that was a co-ed night. The teams had dropped off. We combined that now with Monday night, so that's a good viable league now. The last I heard is possibly this year now we're going to lose Thursday night. Possibly even Wednesday night. And what we have to show these teams, or new teams coming in, we have to be a little bit more in the ballpark of other cities like River Falls or New Richmond or Woodbury, because that's where our teams are taking off to. I guess that's the biggest reason, and like I said, we need new coolers, and we do share the coolers with the high school, with the boosters, and so we need a little bit of a break, I guess. And I think out of all the things you've been discussing tonight, where you're going to find money, at least Hudson Softball gives the city back some money with all the field use we do use. At least you're getting something out of people using your parks this way. If the park isn't used, it's like an abandoned house. You're going to start seeing damage up there. I've been involved since 1985, and in all the years I've been involved, I think I've had one police incident out of all these games that have taken place. So what I'm saying is we have to keep the fields being used, because if the fields don't get run down from being used, they get run down from not being used. So I have to have a little bit of ammunition to show these teams, hey, the city's trying to work with us now too. Let's get things rolling again. Let's get new teams in here to play. And I guess that's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Larry.
Do we know why they're leaving? Do we know why they're going to other locations?
Well, they pay less going to other places. It's kind of been an uphill battle since we've started that park up there, because as you can see, if you were to go up there and play softball and you stood in one of the outfields and you're an outfielder, you can't see the batter's feet. I mean, there's a ridiculous slope to these ball fields. So we have to offer these people something to say, let's stay in Hudson. And being charged more isn't probably the best way to say let's stay in Hudson.
So are you saying you're going to be able to charge them less?
Well, we've already discussed the Hudson Softball Association. What we did when we started this was formed a nonprofit organization. So at that time, to meet those guidelines, we had to have 3 commissioners, we had to have this, we had to have that. We were a member of ASA. And so what we're discussing now is let's drop ASA. Okay, that's $20 less a team doesn't have to pay. Let's maybe drop our nonprofit thing, find a way we can reschedule that so we can get rid of 1 or maybe even 2 of the commissioners' fees. We're trying to find ways to save these teams money to stay here because basically, like I said, they can go some other place and play for less money. And like I said before, the fields are 50 times better than they were 3-4 years ago. The irrigation help, the better upkeep of the infields, just the plain caring. I mean, the people are starting to care about the ball fields that they're taking care of. Before it was a job. Well, let's go up and drag the ballpark. Let's take this powder dirt and move it into the holes, and in 2 innings it's all dug back out again. Now the fields are taken care of. They're irrigated. They're wet, and the people like playing up there again. The problem is we have to get them back.
Okay. Mary, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a couple. So how many days were you down to, were all your evenings full last year?
All except for Friday night. Like I said, we dropped that probably 5 years ago or so. But on Wednesday nights, used to be considered an old-timers league. We used to have 14 teams there. Last year we were down to 5.
Okay.
And as soon as we start having 2 sets of games a night on a field, we're paying $90 per night for a field. As soon as we're down to only playing 2 games on that field, well, now the teams that are playing on that field have to pay more because they're not dividing that field time amongst more teams. Thursday night last year, we used to have 12 girls teams. We were down to 5. And the last I talked, we were polling the 5 teams that we did have, and I was working on trying to get a couple more to play. The last I heard, we're down to 2 women's teams left.
Okay. And
2 of those went to River Falls, and I believe 1 went to Stillwater.
And my other question is, you spoke earlier that you share the use of the refrigeration with the the fields with the high school and the boosters, or the refrigeration?
With the refrigeration. I mean, if the boosters are going to have a tournament up there, yeah, go ahead and use the refrigeration that we have up there, and the same as schools.
And same with the high schools?
Yes.
How often does the high school have tournaments up there?
I think really about the only time that they would use that is, I think it's not so much the high school as it is the under 16 and the things like that that go on during the summertime. I believe they have a tournament.
Okay.
But the boosters have quite a bit of things that they do up there on the weekends.
Any other questions?
So are we proposing the 8% just for this year? Or are you kind of anticipating that might be an ongoing?
Well, I don't know if 1 year would really gain us enough capital, to help us out. I would like to say at least 5 years. It used to be that when we used to do 10%, it was for beer sales only. And then I believe 3 years ago, all of a sudden, it went to 10% all sales off the top before even our expenses. So
The agreement in front of you is for 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Which it always is, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just asking from a
I I would like to see it for more than 1 year if possible.
Okay.
Well, recommendation from the park board was 1 year.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I will move to approve the new agreement with the concession rate at 8% for
second.
1 year.
Second.
There's a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Item C on unfinished business, amendments to the municipal code concerning additional licensing requirements for operator license and taxi cab driver license, ordinance number 6-11. We had the first reading last time, so
Move to adopt ordinance 6-11.
Second.
any discussion?
I think it's duly unfair to people who depend on that as their livelihood, so I'll be voting no.
Unfair.
Well, this has to do with
For
unpaid
what?
debt. If they owe the city money, they can't get a license.
Exactly, and people rely on those licenses. They can't go to work, right? They can't drive their cab.
Okay.
So, anyway.
All those, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Okay. I believe under new business, there was a letter that Chairman Darrell Stanifer sent out from St. Croix County Board. And what I'd like to do is each of the committee heads and department heads take a look at any ways that we can possibly share some services and utilization of equipment back and forth between the county and the city of Hudson. I know I was meeting with a group of Boy Scouts that were in, and one of the Boy Scouts' father was a truck driver for the county, snow truck driver. And he said, boy, you know, if we had that snowblower attachment, we could save a lot of time coming across the bridge because they don't have one. So I think there's a possibility, when we are not using it, Tom, I'm not trying to wear out your brand new piece of equipment we don't even have yet, but I think there's some opportunities to cost share and some of the equipment they have that we might be able to utilize. So each of the departments can look for ways that we can share, and any city council people that have any ideas to share so we can save some money, I think is a good thing to do. And also with any other cities or municipalities. Any comments or thoughts on that?
Good idea.
Okay, so let's put it on the agenda for your department head meetings. Item B, consider an ordinance, chapter 235-29 municipal code, parking meter fines, ordinance number 7-11.
Move to suspend the rules.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Morissette?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Vanslo?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Yaku?
Yes.
Move to adopt ordinance 7-11.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm still waiting to see the long-term plan here. I assume it's underway, Mr. O'Malley?
Yes, I have it in my back pocket. I'll share it later, but.
No, seriously.
To go from $5 to $7, I mean, frankly, people from the Twin Cities find this kind of laughable. And we need this, this money to go up, just for the cost of living, if nothing else. It's been quite a long time since we raised our rates and our fines.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is change in the parking meter rates, resolution number 4-11.
Did we have a first reading on this, Devin, before? Then I'll move for suspension of the rules.
Second.
Roll call.
Morissette?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Vanslo?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Yaku?
Yes.
Okay,
Move to adopt resolution 4-11.
Second.
And
any discussion?
yeah, and seriously, I'm asking for the same thing we discussed earlier, and that is, if we're going to raise rates, I want to have a plan in place that says when we expect to be looking at adding additional parking, because we can go back and say, this is the reason and this is what's allocated. I think it's,
And I totally agree with your point. We have right now about 131,000 in the parking utility fund. And it is proposed that 30% of this additional money will go right into that fund. We will need to start at some point identifying how we're going to use these monies. I know I have a definite idea, and everybody else may have a different idea. And we should at some point be discussing that. I can say that at this point, at the level of $130,000, it would be a little premature to talk about constructing anything or buying anything right now.
true.
Because we don't have enough money.
But we can certainly lay out a 5 to 10 year plan saying when we expect to be at a point. So a future council can say, we've now hit that point where we should be looking at implementing this plan.
I totally agree. This is an establishment essentially of a sinking fund, which I'm all in favor of, paying for things in cash at the time you buy them because you provided for it ahead of time.
Okay, any other thoughts or comments? I think it's something that we have to do, and I think if a piece of property came up right now that we would think about, we'd use as much as we can and then go out and borrow part of it to get it if it came up. But I think Denny's working on it. We're looking at it, but it's not something we're going to have available for a while yet. Denny, do you want to make a comment on it or add anything?
We've done an inventory, looking at where all the lots are at. We're taking a look at how the areas where metered or permit parking are at, where they should be modified. There's 3 or 4 locations I've visited with property owners in downtown Hudson in regards to potential purchases of the property or possible lease considerations. Right now, we could add possibly 40 or 50 parking spots if your purchase or leases could be arranged. I would hope maybe to have some of the information in 2 or 3 weeks if possible. It's interesting, there was I think 4 different analysis done all the way back to 1962, so one of our first ones was about 50 years old, and about every 10 years we come up with another one, so we're recreating the wheel, so to speak. But I think there's some good possibilities for opportunities. One of the things I talked about with the city and the Library Foundation at the time that site was looked at, there's 2 lots on the north side of that have been available for purchase. I always thought and recommended at that time with the purchase of that building that those 2 lots should have been purchased at that time. So that'll be part of my recommendation also. So.
Okay. So Lee will have something.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item D, disallowance of claim of Eric Lundell and Chris Baumister, Resolution 5-11.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yeah.
Vanslo?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Yaku?
Yes.
Move to disallow resolution 5-11.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item G, I believe, agreement with Telecom Transport Management for equipment on Livingston. No, it was pulled off. We pulled that off. Catherine had just, she feels like she needs to, Gwen, why don't you give us your 2 cents on this?
The lease that's been presented to the council is incomplete. It doesn't state a rental rate. It doesn't state the name of the people who are going to lease it. Important exhibits showing where the item would be located and what the item is are missing. And these aren't things that need to prevent the council from approving the lease, because the lease is very similar to leases of this nature in the past. But somebody needs to look it over when it's all together before it's signed to make sure that all the right pieces are in there and that it contains all the necessary information. When I talked to Catherine about it today, she suggested that you could either defer it if the timing wasn't critical. If the timing was critical, then her recommendation was that the council approve it, but approve it conditioned on final review and approval of a complete lease with all exhibits in place by your city attorney.
I would move that we, if it's not time sensitive, that we postpone it until Catherine has a chance to review it.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. At this point, we have communications from the mayor. I'm going to have Denny and Eric do my first item of communication on our flood and what we've done so far. Last Thursday, I approved the emergency decree for the city, and Denny and Eric, and we've had a real good group of people working on this, and it's kind of a project that moves with the river and continues to move. But
Yeah.
Denny, go ahead.
Literally.
Yep.
The reason I raised my hand, because there's one item, the one year are discuss enforcement of new municipal regulations for signs. I didn't want that to
Did I
go by
miss it?
without being discussed tonight.
Okay.
In regards
Okay.
to the flood conditions, we've been very fortunate the last 4 days and probably through Thursday that the cold evenings and colder days have substantially slowed down the rise of the river. It's only gone up, maybe a tenth of a foot today. where it was going up approximately a foot or a little over a foot a day during the last week. Hopefully that will buy some time for the water that was upstream due to rain and snows, even though a lot of it hasn't melted yet, to pass. Looking at right now where the Mississippi and river is projected to be in the next few days, it was about where it was at last year, so we really don't think we're going to be impacted by the Mississippi River at this point. However, all the discussions with the National Weather Service is saying once it warms up, and if there's a combination of rainfall or substantial rainfall, the river elevations could change substantially and very fast. Last Tuesday and Wednesday, we received rainfall and snow combination. The projections were going up, and they were coming down due to the cold weather. We're ready if those projections come true, and they're saying there's about a 40 or about a 60% chance to crest. It may crest this Thursday, but the percentages are about 60% now. They'll rise higher than that and crest again. I think we'll see multiple crests this year due to the variety of weather that we could get in April. So I think it's a no-brainer that it's going to crest higher than what we're going to see this week. It may be cresting right now and actually dropping down. It's been pretty flat line from about 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. We have a lot of sandbags on hand. We're not going to be preparing any more sandbags until absolutely necessary to reduce the cost exposure to the city of Hudson from that perspective. However, we have moved our operations indoors where it's heated, where sandbagging can occur during foul weather where it's rain or snow. We can do that, so we're prepared to do it. I think we're in about as good a shape as we possibly can be, considering the unpredictability of the weather that may occur in the next few weeks. The flooding situation could occur well into June. We don't know. But I think we've tried to put the city in the best position we possibly can.
Okay. Eric, do you have anything you want to add? Danny, as long as you're standing there, we'll go back on the agenda if it's okay with everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about enforcement of the new municipal code for signs. And I
appreciate
put this on the agenda because I think it's been brought up a couple times, and I've had some questions and calls about signs. And
sure. Appreciate the opportunity. Sign ordinance was approved in the end of January, went into effect in mid-February. Probably couldn't have been a worse time for it to go in effect for us from an enforcement standpoint. I was in the middle of phone calls literally occurring on a daily basis for development proposals. We got 3 big developments that David and I are currently working on. We're approving plans or getting building permits out. So what the approach I will be taking is David and I will take the major sign considerations. We'll be delivering notices to those. Just a quick inventory this morning. There's probably about 15 signs out there. Some of them can be easily removed or just relocated. Very simple. I think we'll try to work with David Krupich, our code enforcement officer, to get out to those ones where basically it's knocking on the door saying, please move the sign, and not so much be concerned about possible citations. I think David and I should be taking care of that. David and I will split up those considerations. Flooding, I mean, which priority do you want me to work on? Right now I got about 4 priorities, and signs are probably, they're probably the lowest priority I have on my list. So that's part of the reason that maybe it's not getting implemented as quickly, but I think there's a limited number of signs out there. I've been driving on, the last couple of weekends on Friday nights or when possible to pick up some of the signs that have been put on the boulevards. We're trying to keep up with that. I think we've kept up with that. There's been a few election signs that we've relocated. We will not pick up election signs. We'll just simply locate them back onto the private property. If they are on near or adjacent to our public property, then they will be removed. But there's really been no need to do that at this point. So I think, hopefully with the slow down of the flooding this week, that possibly you can put a higher priority on the sign issue.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Our Public Works is out there all the time. Is there any reason they can't
Well, they can do it. There's other resources. Public Works can pick up some of the signs. But as far as the enforcement, where you potentially are going to write citations, my philosophy's always been you go knock on the door, you talk to them, you try to get cooperation. If they don't cooperate, then we write the citation. We haven't been to that. I do want to do an official inventory of the signs probably tomorrow. So when we do let out notices, we're letting them out all at the same time. So somebody can't call back and say, well, how come you're picking on me and you're not picking on Joe?
Right.
So from that standpoint, we want to try to be as equitable in enforcement as we possibly can. I apologize, we haven't been out, but I've given higher priority to the floods and the development over the sign regulations.
Okay. Any comments from City Council?
Well, I was just going to say if we can get some other people to help out with it, it doesn't have to all sit on Danny's shoulders.
Okay.
I'd like to say thanks for all your hard work on the flooding.
Yep.
issue.
Okay, any questions for Denny on the sign enforcement? Okay.
There was one sign, electronic sign that went up, but didn't have a permit. We've asked you to unplug the sign or get it in compliance. They said apparently the sign company's not available. They're trying to figure out how to
turn it off,
how to operate so be a little patient on that one. I don't think there's any intentional reason for the way they did it. Basically they do not have a sign permit to do that sign. We talked to them about doing it. We sent them the regulations so they were aware, and that's the golf course sign. But I don't think there is any intentional trying to avoid the process that's required. So,
okay. Thank you. Eric, Denny, Tom, Chuck, Marty Jensen, and we have a volunteer named Marty Best that's been doing the sandbagging coordination, retired either lieutenant or colonel in the Army. He's doing a heck of a job. If you've been down there, he said, volunteers over here, and everybody goes over and gets in a line. But it's worked really well, hasn't it, Eric?
Coordinating volunteers alone is
we've probably met no less than, 10? Now, it's been 5 or 6 times in the last couple of weeks. And I can tell you our city staff has done a heck of a job during this time period in a short amount of time and trying to figure out what we need to do. So my compliments to them. We have an individual that served 35 years on the water department. James Pribble has resigned. He finally said, after 35 years, so we're going to be looking for a replacement. I have a couple names in that we'll be bringing forward on that. Also, Dave Sellison has resigned from the Planning Commission. His work has been taking too much time for him, and I'll be making a recommendation to you folks on filling that position, both his family and his work obligations. I also received a letter from the Phipps and John Potter thanking us for the $750 donation as part of the room tax revenue for this month. And that's all I had. Any alderperson?
I have one thing.
Yes.
I would like us as a council to look at, I'm bringing it to the council and not Public Works because I want to hopefully open it up more broadly, but I would like a subcommittee form to address the issue of leaf disposal on a long-term, looking for a long-term solution. And after seeing the Chairman Stanifer's note, I think it's a great opportunity to consider working with the Village of North Hudson, potentially the town of Hudson, come up with a long-term solution. Maybe a compost site, maybe it's outside of town. I just think we have to look at some other alternatives to what we're currently doing.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I would like to compliment and to thank all of our department heads who worked on the budget that we just passed tonight. I know they worked hard on it, long on it, and I want to also thank the other members of the City Council we had an energetic but an informed and intelligent discussion which made the pain level of spending money go down, and I'm very happy to see that although we don't have the mill rate exactly yet because you didn't have those numbers at the beginning of this meeting, we will not, I'm willing to bet, we will not have any increase in taxes.
The intent of I don't know how much we can say without getting in trouble here. The intent is to keep it as smooth as possibly can, so when Sean sets up the bonding, he'll set it up so that it can keep the debt mill rate the same.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
I just want to wish luck in the upcoming elections to the incumbents and the challengers, and
That's right, April 5th.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be
That-
stressful, so.
Maybe we should remind people to go and vote,
Okay.
a week from tomorrow.
Yep. City Attorney, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
City Administrator.
A couple things, as you've mentioned, the election is April 5th, the same polling places as always. Just a little advance warning, in 2012, a lot of people will be in different spots potentially for there, because there will be redistricting. We did get our population totals, it was just over 12,700. The process will be that the county gets the maps, they determine their county supervisory districts, they give them to us, and then we determine our alderperson districts from that. So that process will be ongoing. But there will be changes. Obviously, the districts south of the interstate were very small 10 years ago. Now they're big. We're also going to potentially looking at polling places, whether we can do some shifting around there to ease the burden a little bit out at the government center. So all those things are coming up. Reminder that the meeting schedule is April 11th, May 2nd, May 16th. It's a little bit. And then their organizational meeting is on the 19th, but the regular meetings will be the 11th, the 2nd, the 16th. Audit is already ongoing, will continue over the next several weeks. Kathy and I are working diligently to get everything ready for that. And a question came up about the police officer that was approved several months ago. Police and Fire Commission, they went through the first round of applicants. I'm proctoring the testing on Friday. So hopefully by the end of the month, they'll be able to do interviews and then get a police officer for the meetings after that.
Anything else? Anyone? Motion, is there a motion to
Move to
adjourn?
adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.